Let's talk about next week. Let's talk about investors, colonizers coming in a form of investors into Africa and South Africa. This will take us to Marikana. This will take us to why we must make the investor happy. Was the investor, it's still the same person, a colonizer.
It will take us to government of national unity.
Yes, let's do that. 1991, 92, 93, when our leaders were taking over government, were they having an intention to empower their fellow people, or all they wanted was to amass for themselves? It's our time to eat.
I don't think all of them had a similar idea of it's our time to eat. But when I criticize government, I also criticize people that I know came from oppression. They came from exile. They had no cent. Some of them started to wear a decent suit when they arrive in parliament. So I take cognizance of where they were coming from. But I'm saying, what they wanted to do, they did not complete, even if it was in their mind. Then they saw the monies that they could make in the same process. Remember, they didn't get the shares immediately when they arrived. They gave themselves shares.
Now, that's like the reason why I differ. I don't think that there was an intent, because our leaders suddenly became shareholders of big companies. And in the process, your Anglo-American, your ISCO and everything, the government privatized them. Exactly. But in their privatization, they are positioning themselves to own this company. They are not really privatizing them. They want to own them.
True.
Yes.
True to an extent. But how many of them own ISCO? All what they did in that process was to privatize the economy and to privatize apartheid. Because you can't separate apartheid from economy, and that's where people make a mistake. They think apartheid, it's a process, it's politics. It's not politics. Apartheid is economics. None. How many of them own Prasa if they were to privatize? None.
Beautiful Sunday morning. That is like a beautiful Sunday. Good morning.
Good morning, leadership.
How are you?
I am great. God is good.
Yes. Episode 2, it's trending.
It is.
And to our viewers, we are humbled and thank you so much. Yes. And it is important that we respond to these messages. These more than 2,800 messages, we should respond to them.
Yeah. When I checked this morning, it was 3,400.
Yo! So, wow! Bravo!
And I did respond to two or three of them. I also want to urge our people.
Yes.
That let us not have a pull-down syndrome. We are saying things that we have observed.
Yes.
We're not saying we are authority on these things.
Yes.
We're only saying this is our observation. And this is a conversation. It's not a storytelling. We're not telling people a story.
Yes.
We are talking to people and we are happy that they talk back.
Yes.
And we are happy that they criticize us. But let us not then say, hey, your ideas are laughable and you do not present different.
No, but we also need to understand, Jorge, sometimes people cannot fathom what others are saying. And as a result, who the hell do we think we are? 2, there are people also by nature that want to be self-righteous. And there are people that want to tell us, you understand? I read there's a white guy that was raising similar sentiments that you are saying, to say what you guys are saying has no basis. But has no basis because how dare could they wake up? How dare could they be? It's like vet. You are now becoming white. Now you are able to think. We created you not to think, but to follow instruction.
And you know what is surprising? When I responded to him, I didn't even realize that he was white.
Oh.
And in my response, I quoted the following words. Don't be like an Afrikaner who says, "Dat gaan nie werk nie."
Yes.
I didn't realize.
You didn't realize.
I didn't realize.
But it's one of those things. And we engage on that.
Yeah.
We had promised that today, we are moving. Let's talk about the economy. And maybe do two phases. This episode, we focus on the economy per government. And then next time we do the economy at the level of family, generational wealth. Because there's nothing that we can do without doing those things. Now let's start here. 1991, 92, 93, when our leaders were taking over government, were they having an intention to empower their fellow people, or all they wanted was to amass for themselves? It's our time to eat.
I don't think all of them had a similar idea of it's our time to eat. But practically, I also want to say, let us look at a slave mind. Because a slave has got a mind.
Yes.
Remember, the mind of a slave is not the mind of his own. It's a mind of how the master wants the slave to operate.
Yes.
And people who are listening to this, it's Sunday, they also read the Bible. The Israelites moved from Egypt on their way to Canaan.
Yes.
What were they concerned about on the road? The food that they eat, turning Israelites into consumers, and they were concerned about nothing else but the cemeteries that they had. That's in a nutshell the mind of a slave. But let's come to the economy of South Africa.
But is it proper, before you go there, is it proper to say the same people in Egypt, they were told, take gold and shillings and wealth and get out of Egypt wealthy?
Yeah, they were told. They were told because that was the mind of God.
Yes.
It was not their mind.
Yes.
Had it been their mind, they would have not taken anything from Egypt.
Yes.
Now, the same principle that we think God applied to the Israelites, he applied two principles. The first one is plunder Egypt as you go.
Yes.
That's the first one. The second one we find in the book of Joshua, where he says, go ye and possess the land. So there's two concepts that the Bible teaches us that pastors are not teaching us. You can't leave sin and become poor.
Very true.
That's not what God intended a person to be. Right? And you can't leave sin and not possess the land.
So I'm creating a scenario, 1993, 1994. When people are to get into position of power, was there an intent to empower our people? The reason I'm asking this is history has taught us that the Afrikaners during the time after Anglo-Boer War, they had an intention, and their government wanted to empower each and every Afrikaner, and they made sure that they get to be empowered. But our government, we found politicians being given shares into companies, and after getting shares in those companies, they became quiet. It was what business as usual in townships, business as usual in towns, business as usual with white men's properties and everything. Yes.
No, I agree with you fully. Remember, when you want to capture a nation, you capture the leaders of the nation. And there's a two-way process that they are doing. When you want to capture a leader, there are two things that you do to a leader. The first part of capturing a leader is torturing him. Again, I'm referring to the Bible. Jesus was tortured to admit that he's not he who he said he was. He was tortured. And we don't know if the torture prolonged for more than 3 years, what would have happened? We don't know, because he was human and God at the same time. But if you don't use that method, you buy. You buy. Now, people say to us, how can we say Mandela sold out? And I'm saying to them, without a shadow of a doubt, he was surely not tortured. If he's not tortured, then they bought him.
Yes.
Yeah. And those are the two principles. And I'm referring them back to not only the Bible. There's a book, it's called Economic Hitman. They must go and read that book. It will tell you how America operates.
Yes.
Including how they buy our politicians. And if the politicians do not conform, they mobilize the media around them to say they are corrupt. If they cannot get that clear to have your people not trusting you as a leader, then they come and they bomb the country. That's how they do it. But let's come back to 1993.
Can we go back there to
Yeah.
be able to say, was there an intent by our leaders to transform the black man's life? Was there an intent? If there was, what did they do?
There was at the beginning an intent, Dr. Malungane.
Maybe let's talk period. When up to
I think at the beginning, let's say 1994 up to 1996, people that were in government were doing certain things. A practical example is that they went and they removed all the legislation that was a barrier for a black person to move. Ne? But all what they did in that process was to privatize the economy and to privatize apartheid. Because you can't separate apartheid from economy. And that's where people make a mistake. They think apartheid, it's a process, it's politics. It's not politics. Apartheid is economics.
Now, that's like the reason why I differ. I don't think that there was an intent, because our leaders suddenly became shareholders of big companies. And in the process, your Anglo-American, your ISCO and everything, the government privatized them.
Exactly.
But in their privatization, they are positioning themselves to own this company. They are not really privatizing them. They want to own them.
True.
Yes.
True to an extent. But how many of them own ISCO? None. How many of them own PRASA if they were to privatize? None. Let's come to the economy. Let's say we have powerful economic families. I would have wanted us to start with the family before we went to government.
Now let's go. The reason why we went to government is the government has the power to change and transform people's lives.
It has.
The Afrikaner government was deliberate when they were deliberate when they were making sure empowering their own people. And our government is not. And what they did is they used the SOEs to do that. So there is no way that we can, without the government creating a conducive environment that makes people to be able to do business, it's going to be difficult to be able to do that. Hence, we start government, and then from there we go to families.
I agree with you.
Yes.
Look, the principle here is, what did government do?
Yes.
They came into power. They found the laws. They removed the laws. But that's where they ended. And that's why I say, partially I agree with you when you say, did they have intention? When you observe their behavior, you come to a conclusion that they did not. But when I criticize government, I also criticize people that I know came from oppression. They came from exile. They had no scent. Some of them started to wear a decent suit when they arrive in parliament. So I take cognizance of where they were coming from. But I'm saying, what they wanted to do, they did not complete, even if it was in their mind. Then they saw the monies that they could make in the same process. Remember, they didn't get the shares immediately when they arrived. They gave themselves shares. Nobody gave Cyril shares. Cyril worked for his shares. He worked for his shares, not going to work. No, he worked. He sold out as much as he could during the Kodasa negotiation, and they gave him shares.
So the more you
shares,
the more you soften to them and agree with them, the more
they
see
build you up.
Yes.
Yeah. You do you think that Ramos from the onset loved Trevor Manuel?
It can't be.
But he became the Minister of Finance.
Yes.
When Bank Corp had to pay back. And he took a decision that don't pay back the 1 billion.
Decided in the bedroom.
Yes. So even how they got married tells you, Ramaphosa marries into a Motsepe family. It tells you how they came into power and they realize that, hey, it's time to eat. They really did that. They ate, all of them. And people are saying to us, every time you say ANC sold out, you don't talk about Zuma. I say, I don't. He doesn't have shares with any white monopoly. He doesn't. Yeah? If he has, he's good in hiding them.
But now, here's
but
the question.
all of them.
No, that is like, I want to raise this one. That is an ordinary talk.
Yes.
Ne?
Yes.
Every black politician has a Shabir Sheikh of some sort, has a Gupta of some sort, has a China like, whatever that it is called. You've got this one that lubricates and open things. When you go to conference, he must give you money so as your faction wins.
Yeah. No. Unfortunately, that's how African politics have always operated. That you go back to the master to say, Master, I'm about to become something.
So
what do you need? You always go back to the master. It has been a program. And it's a program we are directly, with what we are doing, challenging the youth of tomorrow.
Yes.
To say you can't go that route.
That the elders
For the
have
first
gone.
time, we are saying to them, "Tswamo kanya tswana ore tlhako ya morago e gata mo tlhako ya pele e gatileng teng." We are missing the objective. The objective here is you need to do something extraordinary to change the economic landscape of the country. And let me tell you, when the ANC introduced BEE, they introduced a way to silence our people. To say we are co-opting you into this thing. We were never co-opted. They co-opted themselves into this thing.
But one of the things I agree that is like maybe because Nakongati what has stopped our government, because they are in power, to be able to say we've got more than 1 trillion. We are starting our own industries. The supply of police uniform, the supply of nurses uniform, the supply of correctional service uniform. We are going to create companies that are black that will create these things. We are going to see to it that we empower these people. But they still continue to go and buy these things in China, in the white man's shop, and everywhere. So as a result, there is no empowerment to the mines still remain Anglo Gold, America remained Anglo Gold, Lonmin remained Lonmin, etc., etc. They did not come into power and change everything. So as a result, we remained the workers.
Dr. Malungane, I agree with you. Economy has got two concepts, particularly if you come into power after oppression and suppression and exclusion.
Yes.
It has got two processes. The first process is redistribution of wealth,
yes.
what you have. But my attitude has always been, there's no success story of redistribution of wealth in the world. There's no such a success story. But there's a success story of developing your own wealth.
Yes.
Now, that's where the not nationalization of these mines. Leave these mines that they have in their hands and tax them so that you can run your own mines as government and you can empower your own people as government.
But the problem that is Lepe, which is there is, it is you who gives licenses. It is also you that can be able to identify that there is diamond, there is copper, and there's whatever. Let us explore it and develop it and make it that it must be owned by the nation.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Those that are existing, if you nationalize them, you're gonna run out of tax base. Leave them
and start your own.
They must fund certain aspects. Don't temper with ABSA. start a state bank.
We fear to start a state bank.
And I will tell you why. Because white people tell us that you ran ESCOM to death, and as a result, you cannot run a state bank. But let me tell you a story. Skills to run a state bank are bought. Skills are bought. They are free in the market. You can just get advertised, get the best person. But the problem is, when we want a manager of this bank, the CEO, we're going to appoint a man linked to a particular faction in a particular party. And that's where the problem lies. That's why we don't get the best. Let me tell you, there's best black people who can run a state bank. 100%. They are there. We've got best managers who can run these mines. They're there. The problem is, a black man that has been bought, two processes happen. He is never trusted by his own people. He never trusts his own people. So these processes have destroyed us. We don't trust black people to run black things, right? And
Ndadeslepe, you correctly said, you made an interesting story to say the route that has been traveled, we must travel it differently.
Exactly.
And we need a different response to problems that are there. As we identify some of these problems, we must come up with solutions of dealing with these problems until we wake up. Today we need leaders that are deliberate to be able to say, when you become a mayor of this particular town, you are going to change the direction to go into differently than the way it has been going, because it is still suiting the master.
I agree with you. But we stick to the 80-year-old through Africa. We stick to the 90-year-olds.
But it is also because these 70-year-old and 80-year-olds are very close to, and we respect the elders. We have always been told to respect the elders until we come with a new law that says that if you are saying a person at 60, 65 is going to pension, no leader must lead this country and at that age. We must be young, because you cannot talk of a 30-year plan. Utsweri president in only 70 years.
Yeah, you assume that he will be 100 years.
You won't.
It's a very wrong assumption. But I agree with you. That's why we are doing this. We are saying to young people of today, hey, you went to school, you can run
but
a mine.
Yes, but here's another thing there that is important. That is like, you can never go and have a tuck shop in China.
You can't.
You can never go have a tuck shop in Somalia, a saloon in Ghana. But this country has allowed this thing. But when we say this country, we are referring to our government. There's a law that says that small businesses must be for the native people of that place. But we are finding our government allowing foreign people to come and run the smallest businesses. And as a result, they are taking our space. That is a problem. And we need to deal with that.
We need to deal with it, but to deal with it, you can't have a 69-year Motswa lady to do it. You need a young, vibrant guy who will come back and say, I'm closing. He must not target foreigners just for the sake of foreigners. Target specific areas of foreigners and get rid of them. But have a program in place. When you remove a foreigner, put a local guy. You can't remove a foreigner and leave the space open. Once you leave the space open to a person in South Africa who has never ventured in that space, it will remain untapped.
One of the reasons why we are not owning farms, it is because we do not have a program in place that says we are taking 5,000 young people to a school of agriculture up to different levels. And as a result, when they come out, they must be given land to farm.
We are going to miss it for the next 5 years because we appointed Steinhazen for the next 5 years.
Yes, but so that is why I'm saying
it.
No, we have missed it for the past 30.
Of course.
And
now we must add 5.
I'm saying that it's like we have missed it for the last 30. We have now the goalpost has changed. But for the goalpost to come back, it's for us to be able to say we need to correct some of these things and begin to place and replace industries. But it is government that must be able to do these things.
100%. Who's in charge of the Department of Education?
The Democratic Alliance.
Now, what am I saying? even if Steenhuisen could be undermined, the best suited person to undermine Steenhuisen is the guy sitting in the Department of Education, who would say, I identify FETs, I turn them into agriculture. We have them. We have Potchefstroom 1, we have the one in Taung in Northwest, and we are doing nothing. We are doing nothing about them.
But we must regionalize them.
We should.
We should be able to say one in Dr. KK, one in Mumudiri Mulema, one in wherever. In every region, there must be an agricultural college for food security purposes.
Exactly. Currently, we have firmly put food security in the hands of the DA. Currently. And while they are sitting there, we need DGs who can maneuver below them. Unfortunately, the DGs have been taught to toe the line. Now, we, unfortunately, go and read the manifestos of every political party. You will only find EFF talking about agriculture. The rest, they are talking about grants. Not that the EFF is not talking about grants. It is talking about grants. But I'm saying, here's a guy. We say, if you are unemployed, we'll give you 1,000 rand or 2,000 rand. Does he need to get employed? No. But if we were saying, here's a group of guys who are unemployed, we say to them, we are taking you to an agricultural school, we are giving you incentives to be there, which is a stipend of 5,000 rand. Stay there for free.
What is making our government not to say, if we give Hlangi 350 in a year, it's 4,000. 350 by 12, let's say it's 4,000. So 4,000, we multiply 10 young people, and we say 4,000 by 10, it's 40. And we are giving them skills, and we start them in businesses. Won't we then stop to deal away with dependency compared to depend on the state?
We've got something the Department of Education calls skills development, right? Have you ever heard the minister talking about it?
No, they don't.
Why? Because whites are skilled and blacks are not skilled. And our people that are in power are not interested to skill black people. Let me tell you what a skill does. It opens the mind of a person.
And it makes you to be independent.
Once you are independent, you are able to question rubbish when you are given one. But once you are not independent, you can't question rubbish. Currently, I'm employed. If you were to raise issues of employment where I'm employed, I would say to you, in that language, I'm not going to comment because I'm not independent. But ask me the issues of disemployment 3 years down the line. I will give you the details because I will be independent. So the problem is we buy the stomach, and the stomach dictates to the brain. And that's where the challenge is.
But these are the things that are done by fellow black people.
They're done by them.
And they're done to other fellow black people.
Maybe
so the intention of the state must change.
The intention of the state must change. But we must stop accepting rubbish, what we call electioneering on us. When a person gives us a manifesto, he must sit here and we must ask him questions. Say, where is this? Where is this? Let's look at what happened in Parliament. A minister comes in Parliament, he's a minister of sports. He says nothing about sports, but he defends the government of national unity. It's only 3 days, that government. How do you defend something that is 3 days?
Remember that the problem is black people are not organized.
Yes.
And black people do not have elders. The elders that will be able to say, this is the direction we are taking as a nation. And as a result, they have succeeded in doing that. Next week, the reason why we will be talking about wealth at family level, it is because it is where we need to be organized. The moment we get organized at the level of family and we become conscious of generational wealth, we will break a lot of barriers and we will come out as a better people. Being smart or dumb, we are born in these systems. And the system that has operated since 1970, it's still operating until today.
Before Thomas Stationary, follows 380.
Wow.
So I agree with you, Malunga, 100%. And I'm saying to you, we need to look at the agenda on the table of discussion in a family. that will propel the agenda of the community to change. That will propel the agenda of the nation to change.
It is my closing remarks. It is very wrong for us to take our children to universities, and when they come out, we expect them to look for employment, and they are not being employed in our family businesses. Being smart or dumb, we are born in these things, and we will die in it. Until next time, then.
Black man, you are on your own.
Black men, you are on your own, and it is up to you to change the whole scenario. It is up to you to change everything about this thing.